We are recording. All right. So welcome to our most recent podcast, which is the discussion of Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin, published in 1953.
That is correct. Welcome back to a book podcast about books. And let me tell you, books, not too bad after all. Once every some 2-3 years, you get a good one. And kind of makes all that fluff worth it. What did you think about Go Tell It on the Mountain?
Well, it was horrible to read. Another painful book to read, but it did stick with me. And I did also a little interpretive research on it. I don't know a lot about James Baldwin, but I did a little bit of research for it, and this is complex. This is complicated. It's not. It presents as kind of it's semi-autobiographical of James Baldwin's own life and his very, very bad relationship, or his poor relationship with his father, and his views on religion. But it's not at all, I hesitate to use the word preachy. What it is it tells a story, and as you think about it, and as you think about the questions that maybe he raises, and you contemplate the story, the characters and the actors show you rather than tell you. So it's not at all preachy is the word I was going to hesitate to use, because it is about preachers and religion a great deal.
Well, I think you can hear from the tone of my voice, this one really blew my hair back, so to speak.
Really?
It just, holy sweet mother of Jesus. I wanted to immediately start reading it again, all over from the beginning.
Wow, that's amazing. I think this classifies as literature. They talk about literature. This has stood the test of time. A lot of the situations that are depicted in this book are remain the same. It's also deep. It's a very heavily religious story, and I have to say that even though my upbringing was pretty religious, I'm sure a lot of the religiosity went past me, and I missed a lot of it. But he, I think, makes his case very clear against religion and what kind of toxic element it is in these people's lives. That religion and the personal relationship that are also very toxic, or can be very toxic.
This one, there are violent scenes which were just punch you right in the face and really made me remember my complaints about that Blood Meridian, where okay, this is just the text version of hyper violence that I was trying to say. Yeah, this is popular with people who just think, oh, this is a book, but it's this is good because it's really, it's really tickling my fancy of just death and murder. But I guess I would say gratuitous. But this is not. This is not. This is really compelling scenes. And,
yes, and there's only one scene of violence, right?
There's a few in there.
I'm only thinking of
3 or so.
Oh, okay.
Then I may remember that other book, James, we read, which is kind of the fan fiction of Huckleberry Finn, and I kind of not rolled my eyes, but kind of this kind of doesn't really pay enough effort to the time. It's kind of like a adventure. It was too, I don't know. It just wasn't adequate for time and characters and the stakes and violence and risk of the time. If he wanted to go that way, he didn't go like enough. So that was I was like, okay, this, I guess if I, well, I don't know. But this, Go Tell It on the Mountain, James Baldwin, pushed my buttons in all the right ways. And,
yeah, I think that I think the tone is, I see what you're saying about James, but I did think about James as I was reading this. This is our opportunity to get woke. And so reading this kind of literature is good for us, because I think that James was sort of offhand. The stakes it didn't seem as high, but this was grittier, and it seemed more connected to my life, maybe, because it's more current. And it's not, even though it's told rather neutrally, it's not offhand. It's not cavalier. It's not sort of the overlayment of the boy's adventure book. So, this is really good.
Yeah, the James was like, he's like a superhero that just, we're told that there's danger everywhere. Side characters get killed, but he's going to make it. You're kind of like, all right. But this one, the characters, you're really just like, empathizing. And, and first you're given the superficial, and then you're, let's take a look at this and go in. You're like, oh, yeah, you of course see the human nature. Like, well, yeah, if I was that too, what would I do? So, so this is about, it starts off with a family. The main character, I guess, is a son named John, and he's got a mother and 2 sisters and 1 brother and a father who's kind of a, iron fist, draconian authority, deacon in the church, who kind of beats up his family, to control every aspect of their life. So already you're kind of like, okay, well, that's not good. So, so the boy is the protagonist, the father is the antagonist. And then what? What happens? And
so the father's the Antichrist and the son is the Christ, I think, and so what is the sacrifice that has to happen in this book? This, here's what struck me as I was reading. This boy it's a coming of age story. The kid is 14, and sex rears its ugly head as being the sin. And this father is a deacon in this little storefront church that they've got in Harlem, and he is all fire and brimstone. And I remember commenting, is this going to be all fire and brimstone? What is this emphasis on the Old Testament? What's going on here? And it was really irritating and annoying, but my resistance to that made me, delve a little bit deeper, especially when it came to looking at some research, maybe, to try and figure out what's going on here. So the religion aspect of this chronicle was so heavily handed. Old Testament, fire and brimstone, God-fearing people, there's no mention of Christianity or Jesus. Jesus is our Savior, but really all of these Bible quotes that the people in the church would utter were all, as we all know about the Bible, you can find a quote to support any situation, regardless of whether it's good or bad, and that's how they get through life. But why does it always seem to be so heavily Old Testament? And why is there so much emphasis on the sin and the sinner, and the specific sin being sex? I don't quite understand that emphasis. But the more I thought about the Old Testament emphasis, at least, I don't know about the sex emphasis, but the Old Testament, I realized, or it came to me that, these slaves were brought over here to this continent, and this religion was imposed on them entirely. And that in itself is just freaky, that you are picked up, you are transported to a foreign country, you're enslaved, and you're also given this religion, which of course is going to be fire and brimstone and patriarchy and all that stuff in order to keep you in line. And what they learned and what they sort of absorbed and then recreated in, if I can say this, their own societies, is that patriarchy, that absolutism, the misogyny, and the fear of living, and they sort of were brainwashed with it, and then they imposed it on everybody else. And of course it's Old Testament. Of course the slave owners are going to use Old Testament to keep them down, to repress them, to oppress them. It just, that was a revelation to me, and it was kind of startling. I sort of waved my hand and poo-poo all this, what is all this Old Testament stuff? But then I began to understand that I think that's the source of it, and that's the desired continuation of it. They put forward what they had learned. They absorbed it so well that they enforced it on their own people rather than rejecting it entirely. Once freedom was granted, they just sort of imposed it on themselves.
Well, let's okay. Hold everything. What's going on?
Yeah, I know.
Here?
And I got that was kind of a rant.
So you got a boy, and yeah, he is living in Harlem. He's clever, but he's kind of shy. And around the neighborhood, there's drunks, people who are, don't go to church. They're sinful. Sex is around. There's like prostitution around. He also knows that in New York, there's white people who are rich, and he thinks about, how can I get that? I want to be popular. I want people to look at me. He has a thing where, am I ugly? He thinks he's even ugly as a boy, and that's what James Baldwin also thought. He thought he was self-conscious of, he had kind of big eyes that he was teased about. And yeah, this one's kind of autobiographical because he also had a father who just like abused him and stuff, and he didn't really. I'm not sure if he knew why, but in this book we find out why. The character does. So, and also it's his birthday, and he wants people to know it's his birthday. He wants to be recognized, which is a normal human thing. If you want to compete in the planet Earth, you have to kind of separate yourself, but also stay within your clan or tribe. And also, yeah, there's a boy at his church who he likes, he's impressed with. And kind of, yeah, sexual overtones there, but that's a sin. And also his mother is the way he writes the mother is that she has a mysterious background, has like an intelligence about her that the son is always trying to read her face, like what does she mean or what is she saying? So he has like an intrinsic like curiosity, and then she has also a kind of mystery but she's smart. She has like a cleverness about her too. Then we get his brother, who is more misbehaves and more like rebellious, and so that's the dad, who's named Gabriel, tries to control him and beats him and stuff. So yeah, there's a long exposition about these different family members, and then the turning point is his brother Roy is stabbed, and then the family comes together. Oh my God, my son! What happened? This got stabbed. What happened? And then Gabriel's sister Florence comes over too, and she starts saying, "Well, what'd you expect? He's just like you. You were crazy too. You were fighting and being bad. So yeah, what do you think?" So now, like this, I did not think the story was going to go that way. I thought it's going to be something about church and coming of age, but no, we we the bread trail is laid. They're like, well, what'd you expect? That's you. When the dad is this rigid, tyrant. And I was really like, this is just like exactly what I like when a movie or story, you're like, yeah, okay, bad guy, good guy. But why are they like that? Well, let's go on a journey. And we go into Gabriel's childhood. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to do this. And that's just exactly the genre I like. And then you take it away.
And then we do get some explanation for Gabriel's behavior. He was beaten as a child, also trying to beat the sin out of him. But I have no sympathy for Gabriel because he is a hypocritical tyrant. He is the most toxic anyone I've ever encountered in literature, I think. So he had a wild, misspent young life. He was a womanizer and a drinker and did all the bad things that men are not supposed to do, in spite of the fact that he would promise to his mother, I'm going to be good, and she would, oh, Lord have mercy, please find Jesus, accept the Lord, and he would say he would, and then he wouldn't. And then what happens to him is he has a revelation. As he's approaching his mother's house, he gets thunderstruck. Now, I don't quite understand the necessity for this kind of revelation, but it is very Old Testament. It's sort of like Saul getting knocked off his horse and becoming Paul, and becoming an adherent. It is very dramatic. And a lot of the language in this part of the book is very dramatic and biblical. It's really kind of florid. So he has this revelation. He is going to become a preacher now. He moves up north, I think, and I don't remember the exact details. And he gets married to Deborah, who was a victim of rape, gang rape by white men. And she becomes a pariah in her society because she was raped, and she becomes the holiest of holies. He marries her to save her. To save her. He is going to save her. This is what's so galling about this character. He's so hypocritical. And while he's married to Deborah, he has an affair with Esther. And then when that doesn't work out, or she tells him she's pregnant, then, oh, the devil tempted me. You're a harlot. You're no good, and you don't deserve. There's a Bible phrase that he said. I don't know if it's a Bible phrase, but he said, it was in the womb of Esther, who was no better than a harlot, that the seed of the prophet would be nourished. That's on page 127. He is so arrogant and hypocritical that he's just horrible. He's just horrible. And he doesn't like our little character John because he's not his son. We find out that Elizabeth, John's mother, was in a committed relationship, although not married, with someone named Richard. She had a baby. Richard killed himself because he was falsely accused of robbery. Oh,
wait, hold on. Wait. Let's go back to Gabriel. Okay, okay. Gabriel and Florence are brother and sister. They grew up in Georgia, and this is before they came to Harlem, which is in the north, of course. And their mother was a slave. And their mother told them when they realized, oh, we're free. We are free. And actually, his mother had 2 kids who died of illness. 1 kid was sold away, and a husband who died. And all she's got is an older daughter, Florence, and a younger son, Gabriel. And all she knows is that the son can do something. They have the power, and she's traumatized, so she's overprotective and spoils him, and Florence is cast to the side. You'll become useful somewhere, but he's gonna be someone. And as a boy who's given too much, or not really not really parented enough. He kind of becomes a teenager and runs around fighting and dabbling and drinking and stuff. So then but all she knows is that she's also even more religious and biblical than Gabriel ever. Gabriel, he's like, I don't care about that. I don't need that. But in the mother's life, in her lifetime, that Christianity was kind of the only shelter in this horrible situation. And that's where it's almost like, religion, ritual, Christianity, prayer, belief in greater powers is kind of like, I'm going to say the word social construct that is kind of necessary to hold people together just for like their survival. Like, don't kill each other. Don't steal. Well, stealing is good if I need to survive. Well, don't do it because it's a sin. And then we can coexist. We have a better chance of surviving together. And so to her, this is how we make it. I mean, and if you're totally ignorant, you think, oh, well, he didn't go to church. Oh, look, he fell off his horse. There you go. So it's not at all a perfect or good way to, navigate life, but gives you a good odds of survival. So she lays that on the kids, and the son is like, well, I'm not a slave. The kids' generation is better. So they're like, why be so strict? I'm not you, or we have it better. So he's not religious at first. Florence goes away because she wants to get out of there because her life is just going to be nothing in Georgia, and they're upset. Then Gabe's mother passes away. He's got nobody to take care of him. He sees a very religious Lady Deborah, who was outcast because she was raped by white men. That's key too. So when she was like 16, like as a kid, and she was outcast, which is of course ironically not Christian at all. And he looks at her like, oh, this can be my partner. The Lord tells me we should be man and wife, and then they get married. And so he's filled with the Spirit, and we don't know why, but that was kind of a, I've read other books where they say, becoming a reverend is the only way to elevate your station and become a leader. And he's actually kind of talented at it because he speaks at a revival, and he gets another boy to repent and come forward and say, I want to be born again. And everyone looks at him. Well, you got one. Hey, who's this guy? And so he feels good. He's like, this is what feeling good feels like. And so he goes all in, becoming a reverend. And then he's also shocked when other elder reverends during a party or celebration, they make some comments that are, that's not pious. That's not Christ-like to say that. So he gets confrontational. So he's hit with the dilemma of like, wait, what? And so that's the dilemma of like Christianity, is that I think it was necessary to like help you survive communally. We have a better chance together. How do we not kill each other? We all subscribe to the same religion or the same myth. But then it doesn't equip you to actually interpret or confront, like, well, why would a religious person do that? Because, we're all humans too that have desires and internal conflicts, and the powerful will become corrupted and will, abuse or take too much. So that's the dilemma. And so I think, Gabriel, that's where I was really hooked. I was like, oh, this guy he's just a boy too who's trying to figure it out. And that's what I thought. Social construct is religion, but the human condition, which is another lofty term thrown around, that I maybe for the first time in my life thought, oh, I can use it here, is that's the human condition, where you're given these constructs like family and marriage and religion and work and hierarchy, but deep down you want to be identified, you want to be special, and you have desires to, even though you're married, someone looks at you away or whatever. Like, it's just so typical. And but unfortunately, the religion cannot abide sin like that. The more like pious you seem, the deeper the fall, and the more motivation you have to cover up and hide your mistakes, which is again which is the dilemma or irony of it.
Because what I think Baldwin is saying is that there is no higher life. So I see this religion construct as an oppressive mechanism, and deliberately so. And I think that the choices were made to oppress these people that were brought over to this continent with Old Testament thinking and Old Testament stories in order to keep them in line, in order to, teach them patience, so that, we don't understand the Lord's way, but we'll just trust in the Lord like we'll trust in the Master. We don't know why we're in this condition. Why do we have to put up with this kind of thing? Well, it's a mystery. Maybe it's God's plan, and we're not here to question that. And that's what I meant when I said that that Gabriel and John, they have no choice but to try and ascend and get the attention that you're talking about through this construct of religion. They have to work within the hierarchy. They've bought into it so much that they have to they have to do their best within the confines of the rigidity of this religion. And when you are that confined, what happens? You go crazy and have mystical experiences, or you beat people up.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it's never either or, of course, but I mean those are two things that happen in the story.
I think that the genius of Christianity is that to govern people, you have to make them put aside their own desires to be more fearful of the leader. Like, if you don't, you have to all do what I say, or else I'm gonna hurt you. But then, so you have to make them like meek, make them submissive. But then the genius of like religion is like, actually Jesus says meek is good. So you should be meek, and I'm meek too. Hey, I'm meek. I'm the boss. I'm the priest, but I'm meek too. Although don't look in my house or my closet or what good stuff I have better than you. But we're all meek together. We're all gonna go to heaven. So that was kind of the genius of it, where I don't have to just strong arm you or steamroll you into submission. I convince you that he was meek and he's in heaven. He is. Just if you can't see him, just imagine it. And so if you do it, then you'll go to heaven too. And that was, the idea. But yeah, that hypocrisy. Yeah, that's the human condition too. Is that you subscribe to these ideas, but when confronted with, your own desires or your own motivations, like, oh, if someone kills my friend, what do? I say thank you, or you're forgiven. What are you nuts? But the thing that I'm so fascinated with this era and this culture and everything is that, that's the dilemma of this American period, is that when you were black as a slave or post-slavery, or even like recently, being meek and being submissive without question gives you a better survival chance than it's gradually becoming, that risk is going down. But at this time, they say you do not, if there's a white person, you say thank you. If they punch you, you say, oh, thank you,
I slipped.
Sir. Yeah, so
I think that's not just. I think that is, you're pointing out meekness and Christianity, but I think it is more. It's not exactly Christianity. It's more church, and it's more imposition of the hierarchy, and it is oppressive. Yeah, I don't find it anything but that. I don't find a meek bone in Gabriel's body. I find meekness within John, of course, because he's a child. But the hypocrisy of Gabriel is just, I can't tolerate it.
Yeah, that's another huge human condition thing. You're getting oppressed by the powerful above you. So a psychologically, conflicted man who's who's toiling and doesn't have time to reflect or go into therapy, he'll be tyrannical to the people
Right.
lower than him.
Yes.
And so yeah, Baldwin spends a lot of time how Florence is like, how do I get ahead?
Mm-hmm.
And so now we can switch to, so I think Gabriel is just a regular dude who
Right.
just,
He's no
like,
better than anybody else, as Florence points out.
Yeah,
I think people want a leader, and he wants to be in the position of a leader. He even calls himself the anointed one, but he is, in many ways, worse than a lot of people. And so, but hierarchy imposes structure and quells chaos in any kind of social endeavor, and a church is a social endeavor.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Christianity, you have there's no real room for error. The older you get, forgiveness goes away, or tolerance erodes. The older you get, or the more sanctified you are as a leader.
What do you mean? Tolerance erodes. What do you mean? The older you get.
He gets older. He gets, children are like, oh, when's he gonna come? Young, oh, hope he finds Jesus. But once he became a reverend, of course he couldn't reveal he had a illegitimate son with Esther, who's not a churchgoer. Yeah, that's totally reasonable. Like, well, I got to send you away, as has been done by Italian nobles who would impregnate people, send them to the church or the abbey or nunnery or something. And so yeah, he made the regular choice that he knew he'd be shunned. And the dialogue in this book is just so crispy. I was like, yes, they're negotiating. She said, well, what if I stayed here? What if I told your wife? And he's like, well, I'm not going to leave her. What are you, nuts? Well, and yeah, just that negotiation that he has more to lose than her, and she knows it, and he knows it, and he goes right along. He steals, he becomes a lot. So not only he's a cheater, he steals money from his very devout wife, and then lies about it, and then yeah, it's revealed that the sister Florence, she knows about it because Deborah wrote her letter about it. So there's just this boiling. I was hooked I was on the edge of my seat because of this letter that Florence the sister knows about all this. She knows everything. And so, and then yeah, he I even was sympathetic where he said, Gabriel said, oh, she looked at me. I told her to come to church. Like, hey, what's wrong with that? Hear me preach. That's fine. And he feels kind of, also he's kind of young. He might be 22, 23 or something. He gets angry when she leaves after his speaking. She doesn't stay for the whole show. And then, so it's very adolescent, the way he wrote Gabriel. So every stage of the character, I was like, oh, that's boy version, teenager version, kind of adolescent version, and now father version. It's like all of them were believable, or naturally the natural progression.
Well, that's good. I didn't feel any sympathy for him because I'm looking at the women. I think that's why. I see him as a total hypocrite. I see the women as practical, and Florence is the truth teller in the story, and Elizabeth, John's mother, is doing what she has to do in order to keep her children safe. Unfortunately, she's dependent on this man, as most women were, and she is doing what is practically expected of her in order to keep her children safe. She has no alternative. Florence, on the other hand, was married to somebody and divorced him, moved north. She's a single woman. She's kind of outstanding character here.
Yeah, women don't have the luxury to,
right.
They're scrambling uphill. Gabriel is placed on top. He's given some praise, and then he falls. He backslides down, and but still that difference is like, that's a tough situation. They're in a visibly tough situation uphill. The women are, because they're not given that sudden elevation. But Florence sees a nice guy named Frank, who's just wait did he come up from Georgia too, or he was from New York? Now I forget.
I think he was in. I think she came. I think she went up. She went up to New York first.
Yeah. She went alone. She meets Frank, who's kind of a nice guy, but he's dirty and just, common. Man, and this book, when he uses the N-word in it, it's just like pokes you right in the eye.
Yeah.
Like they don't, when she's angry, she says it to him, and it's like, oh man, you're trying to cut. That's a really cutting word. He's low. He plays craps and he drinks, but he's. I think there's scenes he's kind of loving, but finally she's like, we're not. Where's my house? We need to get out of here. We need to get away from these people. And he goes. There's a scene. He's like, well, I'm one of these people. Why do you want to get away from me? It's like, well, you need to get better than them. So even she's thrusting. It's obvious. We don't want to be drunks and street people, but I'm trying to get out of here. She wants something, and then he just moves out and goes to, I think, the First World War. He becomes a soldier and then dies in France in some kind of grave. Nobody stood over his body, and nobody knows. But the real humiliation was that the army was given his next girlfriend as the next of kin. So the girlfriend was notified, and then she sees her somewhere, and then that lady tells Florence, "Oh yeah, he's died over there," and she has to say, tight-lipped, "Thank you for telling me that. Now get away from me."
Yeah. So, I think that what's overarching this entire, my complaints about the church and my complaints about the hierarchy and the hypocrisy and the women's position, overarching all of this is just the systemic racism in America that has caused these traumas and that continues to prevent growth.
Well, you could say, so the main complaint Gabriel has is that Florence is proud. She's too prideful. And that, I was like, what does he even mean by that? So he's like, oh, I'm good. Look at what I've done. But she hasn't really done anything. He just means you think you think you don't have to go to church. You think you don't have to lower yourself. You actually think you can go somewhere and do something. Don't you know that God controls everything? And that if you go to church and be whatever, that he will let you do something. So that could happen, that if it doesn't happen, but if Florence in some situation she talks back to someone who is white or black or something, that could have been the end of her story, or something horrible could happen. That's what I'm saying, is that the programming, the conditioning of like, yes, look, just don't look anybody in the eye. Just say the platitudes like, "Oh, when I see the Lord's face and glory, that's where we're going." I know. Oh, yeah, I know that. Can't wait to see those golden shores. And when I hear the truth, the light fills me up. Like, that's all just waving, "Hey, you don't got to worry about me. I want no trouble, sir." That's just
Yep.
just like when I think the Jews, like Larry David and Howard Stern, the next generation of Jews who came over who left Europe after the war, their parents said, "You got me, your mother. I mean, your father's here too, but I'm the one who you got. You don't need anybody else. And don't go thinking something's good's going to happen. Okay? You stay here with me. We'll be together. Have a family. That's it." So like Larry, who is like a billionaire now, he said his mother said, "The post office is hiring. Why don't you be a mailman? That's a good job." Literally just an anonymous, doesn't speak, doesn't do anything, just does this job, do that 30 years. That's a good life. And that was, but of course the next generation's like, "What do you mean? We're in America. We can do anything." And that's another generational conflict. Just like it wasn't religious, but it was that trauma of like, look, they hate us. If you try to do anything, they will come after you, and we'll have to run away again, because that was their experience. So the Gabriel's ex-slave mother said, "Look, just go to the church. That's your best chance. Don't go trying to read. That's against the law. Don't talk back. Don't eyeball any of that." So anyway, it didn't happen to Florence, but
No, because Florence can think critically. She's the only one. I mean, I think Elizabeth has a little bit of integrity when she talks back to Gabriel when Roy comes in stabbed. And by the way, Gabriel blames John for not looking after his brother. But Florence has reached conclusions about men and people, and she sees clearly. She's thought about things herself. She's so different from Elizabeth, who keeps her head down, or any of the saints that are involved in the church that just, like you said, spout these little biblical aphorisms. She's a critical thinker. She's the one that wanted to be educated. She's the one that strikes out on her own and goes to New York, and she can't just keep her head down. She can't.
Yep. Yeah.
And that is probably generational. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's even good, like they should do that. It's just that's the profound dilemma of like, this is how you survive. But always, and that's the thing about American generations, it's like America changes so fast. They're like, "Okay, we're surviving." The kids are like, "Yeah, we're surviving. We live in a house, we got food." And parents are like, "You don't even know. You can't even imagine what my childhood was like." And they don't speak of it. And the kids are like, "Well, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for something else." And that's why this period just like blows my mind, where not only whatever, running away from slavery, are you crazy? Not only will you be killed and tortured, but your body will be used to humiliate and terrorize the rest of us. So it's not only like your story is going to end, but they're going to use you to freak out the next kids and they'll force them to look at it. And then that character is like a James is like, "I'm going to go for it. I understand. I'm still going to go." "Oh, are you crazy?" Then the next ex-slave, Gabriel's mother is like, "Look, just stay in the church, do this, be here. Florence, you'll be a washing woman or something. That's good enough for you." And Florence is like, "Well, I'm going to go for it." She's like, "What, are you crazy? Are you nuts? Don't you know what can happen?" And she's like, "I'm going to go for it." And then again, Gabriel's laying it on his kids. And John, of course, which is James Baldwin's character, he's like, "I'm going to go for it. I see the church. I get it, but I'm going to go something more." And so it's just, that triple generation but the opportunity is and was there, but the risks were also hugely there too.
The risks.
which is shown by the scene where Gabriel, before he decides to leave for New York or somewhere, he sees his son by Esther, who is walking around, and the son's name is Royal, and only he knows it's his son because Gabriel told Esther that's what I would name a son if I had one, and she kindly named him that, I guess, but never told him the son that who your dad is, I guess. And so Gabriel's walking home. He sees a tavern. There's white people in front of it. He knows this is a confrontation. Just don't look at them. And one of them like spits in front of him. He doesn't do anything. So he knows to just get home. And he goes away. And one of them says, again, I think it says the N-word, like that. Oh, that's a good one or something. So he's humiliated. Then he turns a corner and Royal's there. And he knows he's been drinking, and he knows, like, that was why this book was like, it's the danger's not actually here, it's over there, and you're walking right into it. And finally, yeah, Gabriel knows he's screwed up. He's not equipped to deal with this like, man, I thought I was doing it, but why did I do that? How do I whatever? And he says, look, just be careful. Don't you know that another person was just killed? Another scene, a horrible scene of violence.
Okay.
A black person was left, tortured, cut open. I think like his genitals were cut off for everyone to see. And Royal says like, oh yeah, that's all right. I think I'm okay. They already got one, so they don't need another one. Which again is like, man, if you just had gone to the church and got this conditioning, you would not be thinking this way. And he is killed. Royal is killed in a knife fight, gambling, and that's the end of his story. So is it worth it? Gabriel is conflicted. He's got a family, got a life in New York, but he was humiliated, but he keeps his head down. His other son, who didn't go to the church, and Esther, who was not church going, she died, and Royal died. But is it better to live as you want versus being conditioned? That's what's funny about this period. America, it's a coin toss. In like North Korea, no, it's definitely better to just shut up and worship the dear leader, because you'll be tortured, you'll be thrown in. You and your whole family will be thrown in a manual labor prison camp for your whole life. So yeah, that's where no. In Star Trek, yeah, do whatever you want. We're flying around visiting these backward planets and telling them what they should do. Yeah, this is like this period of America for I think for black people is that dilemma. Like, look, man, you can't do this, and like, I think I can. And it's just such a, you couldn't, it's just such a gamble. But the ones who did go for it is just so like profoundly heroic, or just like totally
they're legends. So
yeah.
I see it more like Star Wars and the Rebellion. I'm watching Andor now, and it sort of reminds me of Saving Private Ryan, the opening scene. This is how they take the beach. It's a war of attrition, but this is how they take the beach. They do it enough that somebody's going to get through. And this is in Andor, the key rebellion leader. Yes, there should be a rebellion over here. 40 people will die. Yeah, that's true, but they'll burn brightly. That kind of thing. So let me ask you this then: the final chapter of the book is the threshing floor, and this is where John, a young man, goes to an evening service, and people are his sort of role model. Elijah is speaking in tongues, and the elders are praying, and the saints everybody's singing and joyful, and he has this mystical experience for pages and pages and pages, a conversion experience.
Yep.
That reminded me of Steppenwolf's dope dream. But
yep. Yeah.
so
Yep.
That,
exactly.
Is that genuine? did he? So I had to look up the threshing floor and what that means. And so they would beat the wheat. They'd harvest the wheat and beat it. And so they would throw it up in the air so the chaff would blow away, the stuff they didn't want, and the good stuff would remain on the floor. But while John is on the floor having this mystical experience, he is on the floor, but he talks about dust again. And so does he convert? Was he saved? He says, he finishes telling Elijah, just remember, I was saved. I was. Don't let anybody ever deny whatever happens to me. I was saved.
I think it's kind of, there's little moments of John being, reflective and curious and, but angry and, just kind of thoughtful, while Roy, his brother, I guess Royal Part 2, is vocal and like aggressive and confrontational and gets hurt, he gets stabbed and threatens his own, fathers and hot-headed. And so, we're set that John is more cool-headed, like Michael Corleone, he's more predisposed to observe and take in and not fly off the handle.
Yeah,
so
he's thoughtful.
He's filled with the Holy Spirit, and he even, he sees his father chasing him, gonna beat him. He even sees Gabriel's first wife in the dream, although he's never even met her. And everyone is glad. Oh, he's been born again. He's been saved. And that's what the culture kind of thinks. Like the Lord will. He calls everyone, but few are chosen. So they think, oh, he's in. Well, look, we all saw it. Look, and who knows why? I don't know why. That I was okay with the supernatural. Like, this book was so good. I was like, okay, you earned this supernatural scene. Steppenwolf, yeah. I was like, what? Okay, well, all right. But this one, I was like, yes, you've given so much vivid, clear truth, believable scenes. We can do this. And so then, when he looks around, he sees Gabriel looking at him, but he's not like glad. He just has like a straight face. And they look at each other, and it's almost like Gabriel knows you're not my son, and you're not as hot-headed and passionate as me. And look at my son, Royal was killed. I'm a sinner, and I'm like a closeted sinner. And then Roy was almost killed, and he wants to kill me. And then he looks at John like, you are onto something else that I can't even comprehend. And I think that's foreshadowing that he's going to be an intellectual a writer, an artist. And because it finishes with another scene where he and his mother look at each other, where it's established that we are, I don't know, we're like alike. And with Richard so Elizabeth, the mother, is from Maryland. And she lives with an aunt, another strict aunt, saying, girls do this, go to church, blah, blah, blah. She falls in love with a boy at a grocery store who's reading a book. So boom, that's intelligence right there. And they decide to go to New York together. And they're in love. They're like totally in love. But Richard, I think he also plays dice and is kind of casual, friendly, until he is trying to take the subway at like 2 a.m. and just sees 3 other black dudes running towards him, and then police are chasing. And he quickly realizes, okay, they're going to say, I'm with them. I'm going to get arrested too. And of course he does. The shopkeeper says, yep, it was those 4. They did it. And he's like, I wasn't even there. I don't know these guys. And the other guys say, yeah, he's not with us. He's a random guy. Doesn't matter. He's put in jail, gets beat. Oh, they want him to confess. They beat him up. Elizabeth sees him. He's beat up, but he's not totally destroyed. He seems kind of all right. Then when he gets out of jail, they let him go by miracle, which is, oh, thank Jesus. And I'm like, oh, okay, good. But wait. And he just starts, crying, just totally defeated, and slits his own wrist, just kills himself, which I think is off camera hinting he was maybe raped in jail or something. Because he was beaten, but he intentionally writes, but he like smiled or something and said like, oh, do you have my cigarettes? He was kind of like seemed okay with just fights, but then in that short time something really bad maybe happened. He just totally weeps, and I'm like, well, what is he? He's crying over the injustice of the legal system. I'm like, it was an extreme response. That never occurred to me, but maybe you're right. Yeah, I think something even worse happened, and so she loses her. Yeah, and he seemed like a good dude. So that was another violent scene, and with off-camera violence too, which again is just how like that Blood Meridian. I'm like, what? This is just like overhyped, and people who think, oh, this is a good book. I mean, the stuff is crazy. I'm like, this is not.
It's just piling on.
So yeah, I think then we're left to know that John, aka James, is the generation who is predisposed to, thank you for the church, I will survive. I get it. This is a good way to survive in this hostile environment, but I got another thing going. I have other opportunities.
So interestingly enough, James Baldwin became an expatriate and lived in France most of his adult life. And what we have in the same time period with James Baldwin is Martin Luther King, who has the nonviolence and church leader acceptable to white people persona, and Malcolm X at the same time. I'm going to join my own church, and you white devils are not going to tell me what to do. And James Baldwin, who runs away, sort of like Huckleberry Finn. Huckleberry Finn runs away too. So do you think then that John, in view of, James Baldwin, who went on to become a great literary figure, just embraces this? First of all, do you think the experience was real? And do you think he embraces it as within the confines of what he needs to do in order to survive in the current society that he's in? And then he, having done that, had that, he can then go on to do what he wants. Do you think it's sort of like, here's the job that needs overtime. Who's going to do it? If you do it, you're creating a relationship, you're validating yourself, and then you can go on and do what you want. Is that what went on?
I don't know.
That's what occurred to me.
I think it's kind of like, it is. It's super it'd be more natural if he just continues hating his dad and angrily runs away and resents him. But the ending kind of shows John as like enlightened, as though the three generations have accumulated into him, and he kind of like, and the three prayers, his father's prayer, his mother's prayer, Florence prayer, as though those three went into him or something. So it's kind of it's like an adult ending where James Baldwin says, what I know now, I'm installing into young 14-year-old John, because now he's got his friend. There's kind of a Buddhist style, like, I see, and you all thank you, but I'm on a different course, which I think I was like, oh, that's okay. I was like, I thought that was fine, because it'd be a more dark tone to say like, and now I hated him even more, and I hate the church, and this is all stupid.
And he's only 14. He has many years more that he needs to function and survive in that society. And so the fact of the matter is, sometimes it's better to put your head down and do what you're told, as you've pointed out many times, to survive. And also, who's to say it's not the right way to do it? It's because it is mystical and shrouded in mystery. Then maybe there is something there. And if he did have this experience legitimately, then maybe it will give him something.
Yeah. So, and plus, I'm a huge fan of. I mean, you can't. The greatest person ever was like uh, J.S. Bach, my favorite kind of musician of all time, who was
Yeah.
like the maybe the best Christian in human history, who just all his works were just for the church. But he had 20 children, and 10 of them survived, with the 10 all not making it of childhood. So it's like, well, what does that tell you? It's just, well, God's got a plan for our this guy's making all these works, survived 400 years, literally the Bible's texts in German. But still, you got a 50-50 chance because
Yeah.
you must have done something wrong. You got sin or whatever. So it's a totally hypocritical, totally a dilemma. But the only social construct that's the best for humans is, the Greeks, the Plato and Socrates. They were the ones where every single thing must be examined and critiqued forever. But when you're a poor person working 12 hours a day, you don't have time for that. You don't know how to read. Yeah, you got to have some. What's that? What else we got? Well, go to church once a week. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's, people don't have time to think all day, as the ancient Greeks did, who also had slaves. So, I get the importance,
It
the
gets you
relevance
through.
of
Yeah,
Christianity, but it doesn't
And
equip you to deal with case-by-case things that conflict with, the teachings.
reality. Oh, well, and I sort of think that the purpose of all religions is to get you through this painful life, whether it is, living this life to get to your reward later, or shunning everything in this life in order to find, nirvana, or whatever it is, or living this way to get your higher place in heaven, or whatever it is. And so it does get you through. And it is, in numbers, worship and being mystified or being sad or deciding to place your trust in some mythical creature, it does help you get through. It's easier to get through together than it is to get through alone. That's for sure. And so even Elizabeth said she thought that Richard died because she had sex with him without being married, and that was her punishment. So she sort of, buys into it all also because it is the ruling modus. And so, yeah, you can hang separately or hang together.
Yeah, the other kind of genius thing about Christianity is that about like, meekness and pride and all those things is that, in the old days, the top had to police everyone below and it all goes down. But in Christianity, it's like, well, I'm meek, we're all meek together, but while I'm sipping wine and enjoying Renaissance art, you all police each other. So if you see someone doing something, you call them out. If you see someone who's got unmarried kids, yeah, you definitely keep your kids away from them. So it's like kind of a self-policing system where
Peer pressure.
yeah, you don't
Really? See, what church is like that, though? I mean, we're all meek together.
in the old days, like
Well, in practice, oh, you mean like really early days Christianity, like the catacombs?
I mean, how, yeah, you're a ignorant worker, you're a farmer, you're whatever, and you don't know how to read. You're just hearing stories about heaven and Jesus, and if you don't do this, this can happen, and so you don't kill, don't steal, don't you should honor your family, but then other things, even yeah, like if you have a kid and you weren't married, and regardless of if you were raped or something, yeah, that's still your fault. So yeah, those things that are like, well, what if, okay, you're not married, you have a kid, but what if you had no choice? Uh, that's too complicated to think about. So she's got to go. Or what if you're so poor and you have no skills, but you have to be a sex worker? That's yeah, that's too complicated. She's got to go. So like even that. Well, what if you murdered someone because you had to? They were trying to, kidnap you. Yeah. Well, hey, maybe the kidnapping would have brought you closer to God. So yeah, you're a murderer. So you gotta go. It's just like
Whoa! I've
Yeah.
never experienced anything other than a hierarchical type of religion, somebody telling me how to behave in order to make sure that I follow the rules of the club. And so I'm having a hard time picturing this religion that you're
Well, it's like we have
describing.
we have murder, which is you killed someone and you wanted to do it, and first degree you plan to do it to get away with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst. And then you got, well, you killed someone, but it was by accident. That's manslaughter. So you did do it. So, and did you have a chance to not do it? We don't know. So yeah, there's different levels. But in those days, you had a priest who was just judging everyone and everybody judging each other. It's like, yeah, well, look at her. She's dirty and she's a sex worker. So yeah,
She's gotta go.
You go to social jail, which means outcast. Outcast
Yeah,
out
social
there.
jail.
So yeah, but anyway, this one, home run.
This one's a winner. Okay. Well, he's written a few other books, and I mean, I'm only familiar with this is the first novel of his that I've read, but I taught his short story Sonny's Blues, which is long, which was also complex and interesting. And this is complex. The family relationships are always a minefield and an interesting place to explore. And he uses that theme a lot, family relationships, sons and fathers and brothers and sisters. It's always very interesting.
Mm-hmm. So what the heck? I guess I gotta choose one next. And I'm thinking we should just hit another home run with the next Siddhartha Mukherjee, The Song of the Cell. I think his most recent one. Song of the Cell.
It's called The Song of the Cell, or I thought it was just The Cell.
Nope. The first one's called the... Wait. Is that right? Yeah, that Song of the Cell. The other one's called The Gene.
Oh.
How about DNA? That's the one. That's the one I read. And yet the one we read is the Emperor of All Maladies. That's the one about cancer. And this is
the Emperor of Maladies, yeah.
a Song of the Cell, about, I guess, the cell. So it must be about how it works, and then probably fixing those cell errors, which is what cancer leads to, which is what genetic therapy and genetic repair is heading towards in our lifetime.
Okay. The Song of the Cell, Siddhartha Mukherjee. I won't get through that one this fast, I don't think.
We'll see.
Okay. Well, this is us signing off for this version of the Pod.
We will catch you next time.
Catch you on the flip side.